Thank you to my IAC members that have started the recording of this event. For anyone that may miss this event, they may go back and view. It will be available on our website as well. A special, again, we have enjoyed several events throughout this campaign. We have had Zumba at multiple campuses. We've also done line dancing, and there's an ongoing step challenge that is going on. Again, this is the third installment of our Lunch and Learn sessions. In the month of September, we talked about um, heart attack and strokes. We had wonderful presenters. Also, in last month in October, we discussed mental health. So, without further ado, today's presentation, we will be talking about um, healthy eating healthy and staying healthy throughout the holidays. We have Miss Megan Murphy who will be presenting for us today. And just to give you a little background about Megan, she is a registered dietitian for over 35 years. She's a licensed dietitian in the state of Tennessee. She is associate professor in the food and nutrition area of Allied Health here at Southwest. She's been full time since January of 2023, and she has done adjunct work for many years prior to that. She is a consultant for a Memphis based bariatric surgeon for over 20 years. She's a lifelong interest in fitness and health and nutrition. She enjoys cooking and baking and eating. She stays active with regular swimming, bicycling, walking, hiking, and weightlifting. Just a reminder, Megan is not a medical doctor. The information that she is sharing with you is for your educational purposes. If you would like additional information, we encourage you to reach out to your personal physician. Um, so before we begin with the presentation, we would ask that you turn off your camera so that you can view the full view of Miss Megan because she will be sharing some visual aids with you. If you all will remain on mute so that everyone can hear the presentation in full, we would appreciate that. Also, we will have a time for question and answers at the end of the presentation. So we do encourage you to either jot those down and put those or put them in the chat. And we will definitely get to your questions at the end. And without further ado, Ms. Megan, we're ready.
All right. Well, thank you for that nice introduction. And I'm happy to be here and talk about food, which I always enjoy. And, the holidays, which are upon us, whether we're ready for them or not. One concern that most of us have as we go into the holidays is, trying to keep our good habits going when we're confronted with so many wonderful foods and we have gatherings, we're seeing family and friends, some of them maybe we haven't seen in a while. And in our culture and in most cultures across the world, food is part of this kind of gathering. And so if we look at the statistics, we see that on average, people who live in westernized societies, westernized countries such as the United States and many of the European countries and places like that, tend to gain about a pound over the 6-7 week period between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And a pound doesn't sound like that much, but the problem is that most of us don't lose that pound. And so then next year comes and we gain another pound. And as the decades roll by, then you can see that this is contributing to long-term weight gain as we get older. And that excess weight gain eventually can increase our risk for things like heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure. And so if we can minimize that while we're enjoying ourselves in the holidays, then we can come out a lot healthier, and also we can feel a lot better in January. So that's one of the things that I encourage people to think about as they go through the holidays is think about how you're going to feel in January. When you pull on those pants in January that normally you like to wear and they just are not very comfortable because they're feeling too tight, that's not a good feeling. Or if you're thinking, kind of go, okay, New Year's resolution, one more time, I have to think about diet and exercise, starting over, that's not a fun feeling too. But if you can get through the holidays and think, okay, I enjoyed myself, it was great, and now I can just, continue. And if I need to improve things, I can, but I don't have to start from square one again. So think about long term. Sometimes that can help. So I have some things that I just came up with that some of them you've heard before. I always find that when I go to conferences or something and I hear something for the fourth time or the fifth time, sometimes it sticks. So sometimes we need to hear things a number of times before it actually is something we carry forward and we can integrate into what we're doing. But one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is work to find active things to do with maybe with your family and friends. Maybe instead of binge watching TV, you can do a little of that, but maybe take some time, go outside. Maybe if you live close to a park, or you go out to Shelby Farms, or even just hang out in the front yard or in the street throwing the football, or playing outside games with your kids. Move around. Our bodies, the human body was meant to move. We're designed to move. And most of us don't move all that much anymore. We don't have to. We have all these labor-saving devices, and our jobs involve computers, and we're working hard. We're tired. Our brains are tired, but our body needs movement. So think about things that you can do maybe with your friends, family, that involve movements, and try to incorporate those into your life through these, especially through the holidays, but really throughout your life too. And then I want to talk about snacking a little bit. We're a very snacking culture, and during the holidays, there seem to be even extra snacks around. People make snack mixes. People bring little nibbly, finger foods into the office. Sometimes we have more goodies lying around. I don't know about you, but I still have some leftover Halloween candy lying around, and I even have I have a candy jar, and like many others, I like to put candy in here during the holidays. I don't do it any other time of year, but it looks pretty. I still have one left from last year. I don't know how good it is anymore, but it's just little things like this, little snacky things like this. That little Dove chocolate that I have in there, it's about 50 calories. Okay. Now, 50 calories doesn't sound like very much. The average person as an adult needs somewhere in the ballpark of 2,000 to 2,500 calories. For older gals like me, it's probably a little less than 2,000 calories. So 50 calories doesn't sound like that much, but if I go by there 3 or 4 times during the day and just pop one of those things in my mouth because it's tasty, I'm not thinking about it, that can add up to 150, 200 calories across the day. And if I do that on a regular basis while those candies are in that jar, I can, that can add significantly to my overall calorie intake. So when you snack, also think about snacking on real food. Okay. So what I mean by that is not necessarily what a lot of us, sometimes with my students, I ask them, I say, when I say the word snack, what comes to your mind? And what they tell me, what most of them say is chips. Okay. I don't know anybody who doesn't love a crispy, crunchy, salty food, whether we call it a chip, a snack cracker, popcorn, something like that. But snacking on, this is I'm trying to get it so it doesn't spill out, but I weighed this out, an ounce of chips, which is a serving. And so if we eat that, that's 160 calories. And it really doesn't give us anything else substantial. There's really virtually no protein, there's no fiber or anything like that. So snacking smart means instead of spending 160, 70 calories on something like chips, maybe you grab a nice ripe pear or an apple, and then maybe you put a little bit of protein with it. maybe a hard-boiled egg. So I can eat this pear and this hard-boiled egg. This is about 80 calories. This is about 80 calories, about 160 calories, about the same amount as those chips, but I'm getting some fiber, I'm getting some protein. I'm going to be much more satisfied for longer than if I eat the chips. You know, the chips are tasty. I like them too. These are things that are in my kitchen. So I have some chips in my house. But as a good quality snack, it really doesn't make the list. So be careful with those kinds of things. Also, I want you to think about portion sizes. Portions in the United States have kind of gotten out of control. We have that mindset that bigger is better. And that has helped us in many aspects of business. That has helped us a lot in terms of, global, in terms of business, that's been great. But when we eat off of a large plate, we tend to fill it up. We tend to fill up our plate no matter what size it is. So to help you with portions, sorry, I don't mean for that to be so loud. Think about eating on a smaller plate or even like a little dessert plate. And that way you just can't fit as much food on there and it looks all crowded. So you don't have just a little bit of food on a big old plate, but it can really help you to make a more reasonable portion. And then pay attention to serving size. Okay, you can, if you have a packaged food, it's going to have a label and it's going to tell you the amount in the serving. Now, this is Golden Grahams cereal. I don't generally eat this, but I used it for a recipe a couple months ago. I still have some around. And so the serving size is 1 cup. All right, so I measured out a cup and I put it into a bowl, and that's a reasonable amount, but it doesn't look like that much. So we might be tempted to fill up that bowl. But look what happens when we put it in a smaller bowl. It just looks like more, even though it's still the same amount. But, that portion can go a little bit farther in a serving utensil, maybe not a serving utensil, a serving plate or bowl that's a little bit smaller. So think about portion sizes, measure those out. Like with the chips, if you do decide to have some chips or something like that, take the chips, put it on a plate like that. Don't take the whole bag with you over to the couch and watch TV. Because if you take the whole bag over there with you, you're going to keep going in that bag. And, by the end of the TV show, you might have eaten more of it than you really wanted to. So consider, with portion sizes, look at the portion size of the food. If it's got a label, use smaller. You can use, instead of, like, if you're making a hearty soup. I don't know about you, but I like to make soup a lot in the winter. And if I like my soups, but they've got all kinds of stuff in it. If I fill up this big bowl and eat that, that's probably more soup than I really need, more calories than I really need. I can use a smaller bowl and I can still enjoy the soup. And if I need more, I can go back and get it. But if you start with something smaller, generally you tend to be satisfied sooner than you might have thought, and then you're eating less, but you're still enjoying what you like. Another thing that is important, especially as we go through the holidays, is to be more mindful about your eating. And what I mean by that is pay attention to it a little bit more. We're very distracted, and in this time of year, we're even more distracted. We have a lot on our mind. We've got a lot going on. So if we're eating like at our desk at work, I know I've done this many times, or we're scrolling through our phone while we're trying to eat our sandwich and whatever we're having for lunch, then we often are not paying very much attention. We're eating, but we're not really, getting it. And so then we are not as satisfied, and then we tend to look for something else. Oh, I finished my sandwich. Oh, well, I feel like I need something else. Whereas if we sit and chew it, and you don't have to be super slow, but chew it and enjoy it and savor it, and often you are more satisfied. If you're driving through somewhere and you're eating in the car, that's not nearly as satisfying as when you're sitting in front of the meal and you're enjoying it. You can savor the bites, and you might notice when you get full and comfortable um, a little bit sooner when you're eating like that. All right, and then I want to go away from food just a little bit and talk about some other aspects. And one thing that is very helpful to just your whole persona is to get enough sleep. You might have been reading some things about sleep that it's kind of popular in health press these days, because we're finding that when people don't get adequate sleep, their cortisol levels go up. And when people's cortisol levels go up, they tend to be hungrier and they tend to, nibble more. And also you tend to be more tired when you don't get enough sleep. So you tend to think, oh, I'm too tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. I just can't go to the gym today. You cut back on your exercise. So if you get enough sleep, and I know you probably can't do this 100% of the time during the holidays, but prioritize sleep. Put your phone down. I don't know about you, but I'm bad about, later at night kind of scrolling through my phone, watching TikToks or some, mindless thing. I mean, it's fun, it's interesting, it's entertaining, but an hour can go by without you even blinking an eye hardly. So, put those things down, allow yourself to get into bed at a reasonable time so that you can get good quality sleep and hopefully, at least 6 hours, but more ideally 7 to 8 hours, because that's going to help you make better decisions when it comes to food. It's going to help you be more energetic so that you feel like you can get some activity in. And then along those same lines, also think about how you manage your stress. You're going to be stressed over the holidays. It's a lovely time. It's fun. We're seeing people that we haven't seen in a while. We're being with loved ones. But it's also very stressful. You might be cooking more, you might be cleaning more because people are coming to visit. You're thinking about gift ideas for people. Maybe you're worried about finances and your job is still happening and you still need to pay attention to that, as well as other family matters. So there's a lot of things that make us feel a little bit stressed. And one of the things that we tend to like to do when we're stressed is we like to get something to eat, because it's enjoyable and it kind of balances the stress that we have. But remember that that isn't the best way to manage stress, because what we tend to eat, we don't tend to sit down and have an extra piece of grilled chicken breast when we're eating for stress. We tend to eat the chips or the ice cream or cookies or candy or something like that that's easy to eat. You get an immediate hit of either sweet or salty or creamy. Those are things that we tend to like. We don't have to work too hard. We have to chew it up. Like if we're eating chicken breast, we're going to have to make some effort. And when we feel stressed, we don't want to do that. So look to find other ways to manage your stress. And that's different for different people. Some people really get into meditation and deep breathing, and that can be a remarkable way to manage stress. But some people aren't into that. Some people find that it's better if they go out and rake a bag of leaves or take a little walk or do a word game or something, or do something enjoyable. If maybe you like to polish your nails, or you like to read a novel, or you like to watch mindless TV. Find something that isn't related to eating that will still kind of let you kind of exhale and take a breath and calm down from your stress. It doesn't have to be food. There are many ways to cope with stress. So work on that, and that can help you, get through the holidays without a little too much of, some of those high fat, high sugar, high salt type of foods that we like to kind of eat under stressful times. And then the other thing to think about is protein at your meals. Okay. lots of things that we encounter over the holidays are not particularly high in protein. We're likely to encounter more desserts, we're likely to encounter more snacky foods, and we're likely to encounter just more, even more side dishes, whether that's macaroni and cheese or potatoes or things like that. But most of those things have some protein, but not all that much. And so protein is a nutrient that we all need, and it is the most satiating nutrient. What that means is it stays with you longer. So if you have good quality protein in enough of an amount at a meal, that meal is generally going to keep you satisfied for a longer period of time. And so ideally somewhere around 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. So you might be thinking, well, what does that look like? So I'm going to pull up my chicken. This is not real chicken. It's a food model. A piece of chicken like this is about 3 ounces. You see, it's kind of the size of a deck of cards, or if you had maybe a hamburger patty, it would fit roughly in the size of the palm of your hand. But generally, this is about 3 ounces, and an ounce of any kind of meat, chicken, fish, is roughly 7 grams per ounce. Okay, so 3 ounces would be 21 grams. So if I'm including that, and maybe I have a little bit of salad or broccoli or a little bit of potato or something like that at my meal, because I'm going to get a little bit of protein from those things, that's easily a meal that's 25, 27 grams of protein. Eggs are also good sources of protein. One egg has about 8 grams of protein. Now, a lot of people don't like to eat too many egg yolks because that's where the fat and cholesterol is. But if you want to scramble eggs for a quick dinner meal, eggs are great for a quick dinner meal. Eggs, add some leftover vegetables, maybe a little bit of cheese. You've got a nice solid, meal that was very easy to fix. But you can do like 2 eggs and 2 egg whites. So that would be about 30, little over 30 grams of protein actually for that. Or you could do 1 egg and 2 egg whites, and that would be 24, 25 grams of protein. You could do something like that. And you can either throw those yolks away. I know we don't like to talk about throwing away food, but sometimes we have to think about, what's best for us. Now, if you have a dog or you want to save the egg yolks and make something else with them, you can freeze them. They'll be a little gummy when they're done, when they come out of the freezer, but if you're using it in a recipe or something like that, it probably isn't going to make that much of a difference. But anyway, that would be another way to get protein in. Something like canned tuna. This particular can is, if you can look at the label when it comes in a package, it'll have a label. So this is 16 grams of protein for about a third of the can. So if I were to eat this entire can, that would be 48 grams of protein. Well, in that 20 to 30 grams of protein aim, getting a little bit more. So even if I just ate half of it, that would be 24 grams of protein, and then a little bit of protein is going to come from, maybe I'm going to put it with bread or crackers or something like that. But maybe you're a vegetarian or you follow a vegan lifestyle. Somewhere, you can think about beans. Okay, these are white beans. I've got a can of garbanzo beans, which a lot of us call chickpeas, and these are about 7 or 8 grams of protein per half a cup serving. Okay, so if I eat a cup of these, maybe I'm going to throw these into a salad, or if I'm eating like a canned soup, because canned soups don't usually have very much meat in them, even if it's chicken soup, it's not going to have that much. I can add the beans into the soup. Okay, and of course, if I'm vegan, I'm not going to have the chicken in it anyway. Or I could put it in a salad. And so that would be 16 grams of protein if I'm eating a cup of this. And then I could get a few more grams from, maybe I'm putting it with some bread, 2 slices of a good whole wheat, whole grain kind of bread would give me 6 grams of protein. So, that would easily get me to that 20 to 30 grams. So eat good quality protein, make that a priority in your meals, and that will help you to resist those little goodies that we might come into contact with in between meals. And along with the protein, you want to think about fiber. Most Americans don't get enough fiber in any way. And then all those goodies that we come in contact with at this time of year generally are not high in fiber. As I said, most Americans get less than they need, which is we need about 25 grams of fiber, or that's what's recommended, 25 grams of fiber per day. Most of us get somewhere in between 11 and 14 grams of fiber per day. So about half of what's recommended. So we want to increase that. And fiber only comes from plant-based foods. Okay. That doesn't mean you have to become a vegan. No, you don't. But you can add, more fruits. You can think about snacking on something like carrots, these I think came from Walmart, and they're already packaged in nice little neat bags, 30 calories. Let's see, this little bag is 2 grams of fiber. Most fruits are 2 to 3 grams of fiber. You can think about eating oatmeal for breakfast. It's a great source of fiber. And if you want to even add more, you can take a little chia seeds and put those in the oatmeal as they're cooking. I do that a lot. I did it this morning, in fact. That's adding another fiber boost there. And, you look for fiber throughout the day. So when you sit down to a meal, you should be thinking, where's my protein? Where's my fiber? And if you have, a reasonable amount of both of those things, then that's probably a good quality meal. If you're eating a meal, like say you have pizza, okay, you've got some protein there because you've got some cheese, you've got some, pepperoni or something on there, usually a little bit in the crust, but there's no fiber there. So then you should be thinking, well, maybe instead of eating 3 pieces of pizza, maybe I can have 1 piece of pizza and have a salad, or, have some carrots later for a snack, or eat my fruit that I brought for a snack. And that way I can kind of augment the fiber that I didn't get at my meal. So protein and fiber are your friends. They help you keep that fullness because fiber slows the emptying of the stomach. Your stomach is going to empty into your small intestines. And fiber holds the food in the stomach just a little longer. It just takes a little more time to get into the small intestines, and it keeps you full for longer. Your stomach has stuff in it longer. So you're less likely to feel hungry as soon as if you ate, something like, that doesn't have much fiber, like our chips, I keep bringing out. All right, so now I want to get into cooking a little bit because I want you to think about how when you're cooking, those of us who cook, and I enjoy cooking, we tend to want to taste it, especially if you're making a pot of something, like maybe you're making chili or you're making soup, or you're, checking on some vegetables and seeing if the seasoning is right. It's fine. You've got to do that as the person who's cooking, but you don't have to take a big scoop. You don't have to take a whole spoon of that soup the 4 or 5 times you're tasting it throughout the cooking process. If you watch these cooking shows on TV, you see these chefs have like a little canister thing, and they have tasting spoons in there because they do need to taste it, but they just barely dip that spoon in there and they just put a little bit in their mouth just to taste it. And I'm looking at the chat. Are you having trouble hearing me? Okay. I don't know what to do about that. Is it any better?
Hi, Megan. This is Terica. I can hear you perfectly fine. You're not frozen.
Okay. I just saw that in the chat. Okay, good. Let's see. But anyway, with the tasting, taste how you need to, but don't overtaste. I always think about it as one of these little people with one of those little clickers, when people are coming into Costco or at a stadium event or something, sometimes people are trying to keep a count. Your body keeps count. Your brain may not remember that you tasted that stew 4 or 5 times before you decided it was ready. But your body, every bite, lick, taste, okay, there's 5 more calories. There's a little body calorie counter going on inside of you. And so you want to minimize that. And if you're cooking more right now, you're probably tasting more. So just be careful with that. And when you do go somewhere like a potluck or a family gathering or something like that, bring something healthy. There's going to be all kinds of stuff there, but I guarantee you, if you bring a nice fruit bowl, it will be gone. People appreciate that, even though, they might be bringing the brownies or the, coconut cake or the macaroni and cheese or whatever. People like healthy options too. I often will bring a salad when I'm asked to bring something, and people love it. I've come in among my circle of friends. People say, "Oh, Megan always brings the salad." I like to cook desserts too, but I know there's already going to be a bunch of desserts there, so I'll save that for another time. But bring something healthy so that you have something good to eat along with these other things. But other people are going to enjoy that too, I promise you. And then I want to talk about desserts, because desserts are part of our holiday celebrations. And the desserts are, fun to make because you can be really creative with them. You can, have all kinds of taste combinations, but generally they're very packed with calories. They're high in fat. Fat has more calories than any other nutrient. They're high in sugar. Sugar doesn't have as many calories per gram, but American desserts are actually sweeter than most others in other countries. I've heard people say that they get used to what they have in their country and they come over here and it's like, wow, it's so much more sweet. We've grown accustomed to that. So we have lots of sugar, lots of fat in our desserts, which makes them very high in calories. So even just a small piece can rack up 300, 400, 500 calories. And remember that number, somewhere around 2,000, 2,500 calories is what most of us need in a day. And so if at some occasions you're having 2 or 3 desserts, you could easily be getting over half of your calorie allotment that you need for a day. So try to keep it to 1, or maybe share 2 desserts with somebody else so that you're eating half of one and half of another. Or the other thing I also want to mention is that maybe don't eat the whole thing. You go back to that eating mindfully. You savor every bite. You enjoy it. You feel the textures that you like. But the other thing is sometimes a dessert that looks wonderful doesn't taste quite as wonderful as you expected it to. And then you want to ask yourself, is it worth the calories? If I eat this entire, piece of cake, that could easily be 500 calories. And it's good, but it's not that special. Do I want to spend that many calories on something that is not that special? And then our brain kicks in and we think, oh, but I hate to waste it. Okay, then here's my thing about that. I don't like to waste food either. People who know me know that I save little bits and pieces of things and then I try to gather them all up and make them into something else because I don't want to throw them away. But if the option is either I'm going to throw this away or I'm going to eat it, what are you saying? You're not a trash can. If you think I should throw it away, but you eat it instead because you don't want to waste it, that's not a good reason to eat it. That's not a good reason. You're going to get the calories whether you enjoy them or not. If that goes into you, your body's going to process those calories. So, think about that. Make your choices wisely. And if something isn't that good, don't feel like you have to eat it. Sometimes you feel pressured to eat it. Maybe, somebody important to you in your family made this, and this is the special thing they like to make, and they really enjoy to see people enjoying it. But if you don't enjoy it, you don't have to say, Aunt Susie, I just really don't like this. You don't have to hurt her feelings, but you can say, oh, I'm so full right now. It tastes great. Thank you so much for bringing this. I just can't eat another bite right now. You can say something like that rather than, it's not worth the calories, but in your head, you can say those things. All right. So speaking of calories, I want you to think about liquid calories. And, these are not just things like sodas, like this is a can of regular Coca-Cola, 140 calories without anything else. No protein, no fiber, no significant vitamins, minerals, anything like that. Okay. But think about a lot of things that we like to enjoy during this time. Apple cider, mulled wine, eggnog, special coffee drinks, hot chocolate, things like that. These things can give us 200-300 calories at a pop. Special cocktails, if you drink, a lot of times people make special cocktails at holiday gatherings. And those can easily add so many calories. And the problem with liquid calories is that they go right through you. They don't stay in your stomach very long. The stomach's job, one of its jobs, is to mush everything together and make it more liquid so it can pass on to the small intestine and go on. Well, these are already liquid, so the stomach doesn't have to hold it very long because it's like, oh, this is liquid already. Let me move it on down. And so now you've got something that doesn't have that lasting fullness, and you've ingested the calories. So be very careful. I'm not saying you can't ever have hot chocolate or you can't ever enjoy, any of these things that we like. So, just be aware that there are a lot of calories there. And sometimes you might think about if you're at a party or something, maybe drinking something with calories and then balancing it with your next drink, which would be water, kind of diluting it that way. All right, I have a few other things. I know I told you when I get talking about food, I just keep talking. But I'll close with a few words so that we have some time for questions. I do, want you to enjoy the holidays. I don't want you to go through the holidays going, I can't eat that, or I can't eat this. You don't want to make it so punitive. Okay. You don't want to make it feel so restricted. You want to make it more of a choice. My choice is because I have these long-term goals. I want to be healthy. I want to come through the holidays, enjoy myself, but not feel miserable in January. And so, you think about that as you set these goals, trying to be more active, be a little bit more careful about what you eat and how much you eat. The Japanese have or in some parts of Japan, they use a phrase that means I've had enough, I'm not hungry anymore, I'm really not full, but I'm satisfied. It's called hara hachi bu. And that's where we should aim for. We should eat, we can enjoy some of these, goodies that maybe are not as healthy as maybe we would like, but it's still tasty and good, but don't overeat them. Get to that point where you think, okay, I've had enough. My brain wants to eat more. My mouth would like to eat more, but my stomach has told me, okay, this is all I need right now. Maybe later I'll need something else. And just make it sustainable, attainable, and also be nice to yourself because you're human. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get through some gathering and think, oh, I shouldn't have eaten all that. That was a little bit more than I needed. That's okay. Then just start with your next meal, just managing it a little bit better. Don't go till the next day. Don't say, well, I guess I'll just eat everything today and start tomorrow. Don't do that. Start now. Okay, you messed up. Okay, we all mess up. We all do that. So the rest of the day, I'll just be a little bit more careful. So think about that those long-term goals as you work to stay healthy over the holiday season. Okay, I'd love to answer questions or maybe there's something I didn't address that I'm happy to look at addressing it if you have a certain question.
Anyone have a question? Please go ahead. Oh, we do. What healthy options do you suggest for my constant sweet tooth? I have it too, Phyllis. I apologize if you've given this info. I've been in and out of meetings. No, she hadn't talked about that. So, Megan, can you share how to help us people that have a sweet tooth?
I love sweets too. And I tell you, if you go in my freezer right now, I have a small freezer out in the garage because I like to bake. So I bake cookies and things like that. But I don't have them in my main kitchen. I put them away in the freezer outside. It's not that far, it's just a few steps, but out of sight helps them not call my name. They're there, I know they're there, but when I'm lying on the couch and I think, oh, a cookie would be nice, I'm thinking, I don't want to put on my shoes and go outside. It's cold. Never mind. Make it harder for you to get them. Also, sometimes if you set a time, if you have a craving, because cravings are like waves. They come, they peak, and then they subside. So if you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to on my phone, I'm going to set a 10-minute timer. And then in 10 minutes, I'll decide whether I want to go get that sweet thing, whatever it is. If you can wait out that craving, a lot of times when 10 minutes go by, you think, okay, I don't really have to have it now. Rather than saying, no, I can't do it. No. If you say no to yourself over and over and over so many times, after a while, the little other voice in your head says, well, I'm an adult. I can do this if I want to. And then you just, go and get it. But if you say, okay, let me see if this is really something I need, I'm just going to set this timer and, if I need it in 10 minutes, okay, maybe I'll have some. Because in 10 minutes, even if you do have some, you're more likely to have a small amount rather than just, go and get that package of cookies and eat it, or go and get the ice cream and just, fill up a big bowl rather than sometimes when I want ice cream, I use a little bowl like this. I like ice cream too. Just because I'm a dietitian doesn't mean I don't like these, sweet foods or, less healthy foods. But put up a little bit of a roadblock for you. And also back to that protein, look at what you've been eating that day. Did you eat enough protein? Often when you have less protein than you need, you tend to have more cravings for something sweet like that. So try those things. More protein, smaller containers, out of sight, out of mind. Time, put a time frame there so that you don't do it right away.
Okay, we have another question. Do you recommend any fiber or protein supplements?
Sometimes. You can buy little fiber gummies. I don't think I have mine in the jar that they came in, but I take these when I travel sometimes, because sometimes traveling you don't get enough fiber. So there are these little gummy things. 3 of these is 5 grams of fiber. If I think about my day and I think, man, I had a croissant for breakfast and I had which is, not a whole grain thing, so it doesn't have much fiber. I had pizza for lunch. I had, a cheeseburger for dinner. There isn't much fiber in that day. Okay. So then I would, I'd take some of those. Or I travel with my chia seeds too. Because I can put them in yogurt. I can put them in my oatmeal. Those are the main places I put them. If I make a smoothie, which I don't do too often, but sometimes I do, I'll put them in there just to add more fiber. So yes, that can be helpful. Sometimes a protein supplement can be helpful. I don't think people do as well when they just rely on protein supplements, because most of the time that's in a liquid form. And even though protein stays with you, it stays with you better if it's in a food form than in a liquid form. But again, in a pinch, if you look at your day and you think, I don't even want to do anything for dinner, I'll just, you maybe use it as a meal replacement occasionally, a protein supplement. I think that's perfectly fine. But I think you'll do better if you're getting real food type of protein and not supplements all the time.
Great. And just for respect of time, this will be the last question. What if you are trying to eat healthy, however, your college daughter doesn't want to eat healthy? How do you manage that and have a happy meal? She's not talking about a McDonald's happy meal though.
Yeah. Well, if she's college age, she's adult enough to have a conversation with, where you might sit down and say, okay, I hear you. You want, the cheeseburger and fries or the pizza rolls or whatever it is that she enjoys. But I'm thinking about overall health for me and the family. And so I'll include some of those foods. I'll have some of them around, but maybe if we have pizza, we're also going to have a big salad. I'm not going to order as much pizza. So if you want something else, there's peanut butter and jelly, or, or something else. So you're going to have to probably compromise a little bit, but she might, kids that make you feel bad, like, oh, mom, you don't understand. And, you have to put on that emotional raincoat and try to take the emotion out of it so that the emotion part kind of rolls off of you and you say, this is what we have to do now. I'm thinking about long-term health for us and you and the family, and, you're old enough. If you go out, I'm not going to follow you around and make you order, a vegetable with your cheeseburger. But at home, we're going to have less of those things and also balance it with some healthy stuff. That's how I would approach it. And she might act like she hates you for a while, but 10 years from now, she'll probably come back and say to you, yeah, mom, I know you were right. I was being, just hard-headed, and sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Megan. That is great. That's a great suggestion. And I want to thank everyone for joining in on this session today. We got some very good tidbits. I'm going to drop in the chat a Word document that's going to give you some general information of what Megan discussed today. Also, a PowerPoint presentation that she created. A PowerPoint presentation she created that goes over the information that she shared today. We are hopeful that this information was informational and that you have some ideas of how to enjoy your eating this holiday season. We wish you all a happy holiday season. As we go into Thanksgiving, we want you guys to make the best healthy choices, enjoy your time with your friends and family, and make those best choices. And again, thanks everyone for joining us today. And you all enjoy the rest of your day.